Thanks for staying with us on Point. Asian shares advanced while bond yields eased slightly today. That's following mild losses on Wall Street as investors turned their focus to the US Federal Reserve's policy meeting this week for hints on what comes next. That market rally in both mainland China and Hong Kong today has been attributed in part to some investors' bet that Beijing would have to revise its strict zero-COVID policy in the near future. Several tech stocks have been trading at historical lows in Hong Kong in recent weeks, and investors seem to think that it's a good window to buy into them. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advancing 4.3%. Japan's Nikkei stock index rose 0.22% on strong outlook of some companies amid a mixed earnings season. Let's go to Wall Street now, where in the United States, stocks lost ground on Monday, with the major indexes closing out a strong month of gains on a weaker foot. Investor focus turned to the Federal Reserve's policy meeting this week. The central bank is widely expected to raise interest rates to 75 basis points on Wednesday, but investors will look for any signals that the Fed may be considering a deceleration in interest rate hikes in the future. The S&P 500 lost 0.75%, the Nasdaq Composite losing 1.03%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling 0.39%. The JSE is higher at midday. The All-Share Index increased by over 2% to 68,164. The Industrial 25 Index surged by 3.4%. Financials have added 0.8%. Markets in Europe are firmer at this hour. Britain's FTSE 100 has gained 1.7%. The CAC 40 in France is 1.7% higher, and Germany's DAX has added a little over 1%. When it comes to commodities, gold is trading at $1,652 and platinum at $950 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $94.83 a barrel. The rand is trading at 18.16 to the dollar, 20 rand 94 to the pound sterling, and 18 rand and 3 cents to the euro. Right, let's get some analysis. Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers joins me. A very good afternoon to you, Makwe. Stocks on Wall Street losing some ground after that earnings season. What's the latest there?
The latest thing is that we can see that the futures when it comes to the U.S. market is now turned positive, and all because eyes are on the U.S. rate decision later tomorrow. But yes, markets are just all riding on this whole thing that they're optimistic, and it's more of a risk on trade. So the U.S. futures as well, they're up, and anyway, the earnings results were not too bad.
Okay, so what signals are investors looking for, watching out for when it comes to that U.S. and that rate hike?
You know, basically, we want to say that, yes, we have seen that there has been some inversion of the yield curve, but now markets, if you look at the treasury yields are down, you look at the US dollar is down, but now the markets would like to know that going forward, as much as tomorrow, it has been penciled in that it definitely will get that 75 basis point rate hike, but going forward, come the December meeting, will the guys maybe do a little less? And we've seen last week Canada, they didn't do the 75, they did 0.5%. We've seen also Australia, as expected, they didn't do their 50 or so, they managed to do 25 basis points, but we know that the U.S. Federal Reserve, they happen to be a de facto global, what you call interest rate setter. So we just want to see going forward, will they start at least maybe doing a little less, because markets, as much as they've had a good month in October, but we know for the years the markets are under strain, and all because of this massive interest rate hikes, let alone high inflation.
When we go to China and Asian markets, we saw a rally there. Some traders have attributed that to a document that was floating online talking about how China is going to release and ease their border policies. Just talk to me about what's moving the Asian markets.
You know, number one, coming from China itself, we've managed to see that their private PMI numbers managed to beat expectations, even though it's still below 50. And also the fact that Australia didn't come with a supersized interest rate hike. They continue to do that 25 basis point. And as well, people are optimistic that probably China will do much better to deal with their COVID-19 policies, because so far the economy is not doing that great, and all because of those harsh lockdowns. So probably, and given the fact that the Chinese leader managed to get his third term, that he will start doing much better to make sure that the economy starts growing.
What's happening with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange?
Remember, for the month of August, the JSE is up, of October, the JSE was up almost 3.8%, and the rand weakened almost 2.5%. But today we are up nicely over 2%, and all because of the likes of your NASPAs, your Proxas, and because we've seen that the Hong Kong tech stocks managed to go up after falling yesterday, and all because we have this hope that come tomorrow, the US will maybe starting to say, listen, guys, I don't have to be that hawkish. So going forward, interest rates not going to be going that much as we thought we were going to increase up until the guys make sure that inflation coming within what they wanted it to be. Because economic data says something, and anyway, truth be told, at some point you have to pause so that you can start assessing the impact of all these massive interest rate hikes we've been making.
Marco, when it comes to company news, I just want us to touch briefly on what happened to the United States, their corporate earnings season. What stood out for you last week and this week?
This week, we've seen that all companies continue to print money to the extent that we even had the U.S. president saying, you guys, if you're not going to reinvest those profits into production, we have to start taxing you. And also today, we've seen the likes of Pfizer continuing with the good reports. Unfortunately, when it comes to the tech stocks, it was only Apple which managed to come out with good results. But generally, given that the expectations were low, we've seen most companies managing to beat the market expectations.
Okay. And then in South Africa, Alex Forbes completing their acquisition of Sanlam Life. What other company news stood out for you, and what do you make of that acquisition?
That's a brilliant one, and I think it was in the making for quite some time. But if you want to stick along the lines of Sanlam as well, we've seen that as well, their deal with MTN, for MTN to start providing all those investment products that are offered by Sanlam using their platforms as MTN has been approved yesterday. So that's also good news when it comes to the likes of Sanlam. But also you look at Octotec, the investment holding company invested in retail and residential properties and office. The guys continue to do well. Dividend per share increased by 160%. Their headline earnings per share up by 45%, even though their revenue is just up by 5.7%.
When it comes to company news, we know we're expecting some results from miners. We also heard this rumor that came out yesterday that Elon Musk was interested, or Tesla was interested in buying up to 10 to 20% off Glencore. What do you make of that story?
That will be a wise move, just to put this into context. Remember, a normal electric vehicle, it uses 3 to 4 times more when it comes to copper from an ordinary vehicle. Cobalt, they use far more than that. So when it comes to those minerals that Glencore is exposed to, that will benefit the likes of Tesla going forward. So it will be a very strategic move for Tesla to be able to capture the whole value chain system.
Yeah, we know that that's just a rumor that was coming out from the Financial Times, and everyone's run with it. And also we've heard that that might not happen. But Marco Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers, thanks so much for your time and insight into what's moving the markets today. It's time for a short break. We'll have more news for you when we come back.